home exercises, episode 2. Last time we looked at exercises that we can do at home with normal household items that look at improving and maintaining our footwork. This week we're going to look at finger strength, or this episode, because I'm going to do more than one a week. So this one's all looking at finger strength. This episode is broken down into 2 different sections. So the first section is going to look at how to warm up your fingers properly, and then the second section is going to look at the exercises to actually work your fingers properly. The reason I've broken this down into 2 is because for finger strength it's quite intense. Any exercise that you put on your fingers is quite intense. It is really important to warm them up properly. Now ordinarily at a climbing wall, your easy climbs will help to get the finger muscles firing and to get everything working properly. You haven't got that. So be very careful about getting into the exercises without warming up. Your standard warm-ups at climbing walls these days include pulse raising, getting the blood moving, getting the body moving, skipping, running on the spot, star jumps, burpees, all that sort of stuff. Anything to get you a little bit like, whew, yeah, I'm working. And then something to get the muscles firing and to get everything sort of like, the analogy that's often used is the elastic band. Cold elastic band doesn't stretch and likely to snap. Nice warm elastic band bends a lot better, and it's that warm elastic band that we're looking for. Okay, we've got a series of exercises for warm-ups. We've got a series of exercises for our main. They're all written down on my little crib sheet. The reason I keep looking up sideways, one of the reasons. So I'm going to assume that you know about doing pulse raising yourself. If not, do a quick Google search on exercises to pulse raise. In terms of our warm-ups, the first thing to do is the standard finger flick. Okay? Imagine you've got wet hands, you've got no towel, and you want to try and get the water off your hands. It's that flick. Okay? I'm going to do quite a few of these. I'm going to do about 24 on each hand just to get going. What I tend to do personally is try and flick it around a big area. So if I imagine that I've got lots of wall, for example, and I want to try and wet it all, maybe I'm using plaster, aren't I? I'm going to try and hit all the areas because that will help to warm up other areas. If you're working in the same place, then these muscles aren't getting as much exercise. If you're moving around, you can see my shoulders are getting more involved as well. So that's exercise number 1, is the first starting point. Second warm-up exercise, and I'm rattling through these really quickly. The second exercise is literally just to pull the fingers back. This is the motion that we do when we're climbing, is that action. So most of these exercises are going to focus on getting your hands to do that in some way, shape or form. It's also going to work on the forearm muscles and probably on the biceps primarily as well. We'll deal with triceps and other areas in another episode later. So the first one is just to draw the fingers back together, okay? And just pulling the fingers back together. Once you've done this a few times and you can feel it starting to work, now I'm going to add in some resistance. And for this, I might even just use my knee and just pull my fingers back. I've got quite a lot of resistance. I'm pulling quite hard on the fabric to try and pull it all together. Doing this on a table isn't as good. Doing it on carpet works quite well. Doing it on your thigh, again, works it quite well. And you should be able to feel some of the muscles start to activate. You can see the tension in my arm kicking in. This is warm-up exercise number 3. This one I'm calling it table edge slow lift because, you know, I'm not very good at coming up with names for these sort of exercises. Open drag, open-handed crimp, closed crimp. Okay? You're going to start off open-handed and put a little bit of pressure down. Notice I'm not pulling the table up in the air. I'm not putting that much pressure in. Okay? I'm going to maintain that pressure. I'm going to pull my fingers up, engage the little finger and go into a full crimp. Okay? Release. Open drag, pull myself up into a full crimp. 12 sets on each hand. 12 reps on each hand, 3 sets. Okay? Warm-up exercise number 4 literally involves a bowl of water and a cloth. The reason I'm using the bowl of water is because you can see what's happening. all I'm doing is bringing out the sponge with one hand. Watch what's happening with the fingers. The nice thing with it is you get this visual idea of how much effort you're putting in. And it's progressive. The first one is going to get a lot of water with very little effort. You have to put more effort in to get more water out. Keep going until the cloth is pretty much dry, 12 times on each hand. Warm-up exercise number 5 is less a warm-up exercise for everybody and more for those people that have got all these bits and pieces kicking about the house that they might have bought at a climbing shop once, way back when. Squeezy blocks, really popular. There's various other ones. The Metolius do some with a spring inside that's really good at various different resistances, and that's a nice little warm-up exercise. We've got some power fingers, which are one of the exercises that they suggest on power fingers is literally just to put it in your hand and to squeeze it. But obviously with power fingers you can put your fingers in the holes and do some eccentric exercises as well. So bright side with power fingers is that on their website there are a lot of exercises that you can do. So if you've got some of these, have a look for the manual. Even if you haven't, have a look at the manual. You might be able to adapt it. Lastly, the very popular TheraBands. Now TheraBands aren't so much a case of squeezing, more a case of pushing away. But what we can do here is use the stretch to our advantage and create a bit of tension. Remember with all of this, what we're trying to do is isolate the idea of pulling with the fingers and watch climbing films, and see what muscles we're using. We're then trying to create exercises that use the same muscles and replicate that situation. Okay, so many people, this is kind of an add-on after the exercises, because many people will have one of these things in their house. This is a Beastmaker, this particular one, but they're all kind of classed as fingerboards or hangboards, and the idea is that you can either do sets of dead hangs and repeaters, so you do the same thing over and over again, or you do hang to failure, so you hang on the holds until you can't hold on anymore, or some people tend to do pull-ups on them. And that sort of thing with various different sizes of hold. Now there's loads and loads of videos online about how to use them, and there's loads of different apps that you can get and that sort of stuff. But what I'm going to look at now quickly is how you warm up for using one of these using only one of these. What I tend to do when warming up for a fingerboard is to take some of the weight off my fingers. So I'm going to do similar exercises, but I'm going to take the weight off my fingers and I'm going to show you. Stand and just slowly lower my weight down, but most of my weight is still on my feet. A lot of my weight is still on my feet. And then I'm going to stand up. And I can use any of the holds on this because the weight's taken mostly by my feet. Notice how my feet haven't come off the floor. To make it a little bit harder, I'm going to put my feet on a chair in front of me and just do a similar thing. Yeah? Maybe do a bit of a pull-up and lower back down. Simple as that. And I can do that on any of the holds. The further away I push the chair, the more weight comes onto my hands, and progressively I can end up taking all of the weight onto my fingers, so I'm now hanging on my fingertips, or pulling up on my fingertips.
So, onto our exercises. This first one is called a water bowl raise. I did try it with a tray with some heavy items on it, but I couldn't get the weight, so I ended up using a washing up bowl, and literally just, again, engaging those finger muscles, pulling the bowl up behind you. This is a variant, this moves the bowl side to side, but look at that leg. Just using that to counterbalance, learning a little bit more about movement at the same time. Adjust the weight in the bowl as needed, really. Similarly, you can adjust the weight in the buckets on this one. This is literally a bucket raise. Start trying to keep the fingers in a drag position to keep the weight on the fingers so that you aren't grabbing hold of it with the middle of your hand. Sorry about the quality of the video, cutting my head off, but you're not really missing much. This is a variant where we increase the drop, so we increase the movement of the buckets. And again, you can fill the buckets up if you need to, or you can take less out if you're struggling. This one's a personal favourite. Now, one caveat on this: if your door frames are not strong enough, do not pull on them. We do not want you to pull things off. If you are likely to slip, consider either having a pad or a duvet or something behind you, or maybe even a spotter if needed. Do not hurt yourselves on this. If your door frames aren't strong enough, or if you're not sure if your door frames are strong enough, then you can do this. You can use the wall. Yeah, the wall will probably be strong enough and you'll be fine. This, again, big health and safety sort of thing. This is my makeshift pull-up bar. It's not ideal because I couldn't find anything with enough drop. Do not hurt yourselves. Do not let it slip and land on your back on a tile floor. Notice how my hands are right next to the chair. This is a broom handle. Man, I made sure this broom handle's strong enough to be able to do it, but keep your hands next to the chair. Lastly, this one's a fingerboard hip flick. It's just a variation you can do on a fingerboard to increase the range of movement. Okay, any problems, please get in touch.